You're just being uncharitable. You're just
I'm not being uncharitable.
Yeah, you are. Now you're upset. Now you're raising your voice.
I'm not being uncharitable. You stupid Nazi fuck,
I understand
right?
that you're black.
Look,
right?
it's not the case that I'm being uncharitable. No, I understand. I understand that you're an idiot, right? I understand that you're an idiot, and I understand that you're invested in concern trolling at every point for JonJon in this conversation. That's not what he was saying. We were all here for what he was saying.
Yeah, it seems like everybody else understands.
I understand you're invested in concern trolling.
How am I
the thing that's confusing to me in this whole thing is why you've picked that claim to hammer. There's been such a litany of claims with really use of language that you've picked that one to gotcha.
Well, that seemed like the most egregious. I mean, I don't think it's unusual when somebody makes a claim that you think is egregious for you want to contest that first, right? Like
once you say that it's egregious and then it gets cashed out by a bunch of people who kind of knew what he meant, shouldn't you just go?
No, I think the problem is that you're being overly charitable to JonJon there. That's not what he was saying initially, dude. Look, just be really clear. JonJon doesn't know anything about this topic. Almost certainly they doesn't. I think you might actually.
That's not true. You're just.
Well, hold on. I think you might actually, and you just don't know the kind of person that JonJon is.
I can't tell you anything
about it. This is a very common behavior. He'll join the server.
I've heard him over the last few days. Like I haven't been in these rooms that long, but like I've heard him over the last few days. Definitely says a lot of the same things over and over again, but he's saying that he's not been understood. And it's just such a standard idea that it doesn't need to use all the words for me to know what he means. Like he's repeating the frequently claims of people like Bruce Party and Jordan Peterson and he's not hiding that these are the sources of his information.
I understand that. The whole thing is JonJon was making a different claim than what you steelmanned it to later on. And my issue with JonJon is that he always joins the chat exclusively to monologue about shit he knows nothing about, right? JonJon was not making the claim that you said he was. And we have enough background knowledge about JonJon to make reasonable inferences that that's true.
Wait. Hold on. So JonJon doesn't know anything about the topic, right? And JonJon is basically just parroting other thinkers.
So server muted Iron.
Come on. Why did you do that? He was talking. What?
Man, did you feel like turning against you? I don't think.
Wait. Okay, so hold on. So we have this position that JonJon doesn't know anything about the topic.
Oh
so
my
he's just parroting, right? So that must mean that if JonJon is parroting other people, he's either parroting incorrectly or the thinkers that he's parroting are also saying things that are absurd and incorrect, right? So which is it?
Those are not the only two options.
What's the other option?
So, when JonJon doesn't know what he's talking about, he's heard bits and pieces from people on YouTube, but he doesn't understand the topic. And that's why when he was asked for support, he struggled to support it. Right? That's so it's not mutually, it's not one or the other there. That's just a false dichotomy.
Wait, if he's referencing other thinkers, right? Is he either referencing them incorrectly or are those thinkers wrong?
It's not one or the other, dude.
What's the other option?
So the other options, he has bits and pieces of information about the topic from those thinkers, but he can't support it. He has no idea what he's talking about. And when I asked him, hold on. And when I asked him, what thinker are you referencing to support that view? He couldn't provide one. So obviously he doesn't understand the topic. And obviously he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because if he did, he would be able to cite the thinker that supported that claim. And I asked him to support a very specific claim there that he made. Now, if he just wants to say, you know what, I was wrong about that, right? That's fine. But he's not saying that. If he wants to continue.
Other people in the chat have given you the evidence for his position, so I'm confused.
No, because it's not his position. That's the whole thing I've been saying from the start. It's not what he was saying initially.
No, because you strawmanned him, right? It's like,
I didn't.
You're saying like, oh, JonJon, you made a typo in your essay, so your essay.
I did.
That typos are irrelevant. We understand what he's trying to say.
No, I didn't strawman him. The person who, JonJon harped on what the guy said, but that's not what he said initially. I guarantee you that wasn't the claim that he was made.
Multiple people said they understood him. You're just ignorant.
No, it's not that. It's not that I'm ignorant. It's that you're not familiar with this person.
Hey, you guys keep talking about me. Let me get a word in edgewise. Listen.
Go ahead.
Don't you guys think it's funny that I called him out as being a bad faith interlocutor just for you guys to defend why that is?
No, so it's
use
not,
a lot of Darth phrases, eh?
No, so it's not the case that I'm a bad faith interlocutor, right? I think it's the case that I'm being sufficiently charitable. These people are being overly charitable to you, given that I have background knowledge about the dumb shit you say.
No. You don't know what a bad faith interlocutor accusation is, right? What I'm claiming is that you have shown many times to just be trying to score a point in some kind of internet blood sports game that you like to play, rather than try to get down to the truth of what's being said. Now, these other people aren't engaging in that fucking game you're playing. They clearly see that there is a truth to what's being said. This is a personal
At least we understand what you meant.
No, so the whole point is to say that you understand what he meant there is asinine. Look, just rest assured, rest assured, JonJon knows nothing about this topic.
What do you know about it?
No, you said that. That's just projection.
So no, it's not projection.
Projection
It's
at
not.
its finest.
It's not projection.
Sammy literally said he doesn't know anything
JonJon
about
does this all the time.
intersectionality
Just
or
like
any
rest
of that
assured that JonJon did not know.
What do you know about it?
That's irrelevant.
I know a lot more about it than this guy.
I have a surface level understanding of
intersectionality.
I'm sure he does too.
Sure, but the whole point is, I'm not the one running my mouth saying dumb shit about it. I'm not the one
acting. I'm not saying anything dumb about it.
You're saying he's wrong about something you know nothing about.
I know.
There's anything wrong with asking for justification.
Yeah, I know. Look, I know enough to know that JonJon doesn't know anything about it, because that's not under any consistent definition of intersectionality. And that's why all. Well, hold on. I was. Yeah, that's exactly.
You asking him to name a person.
No, but that would be substantiating the point. I asked him, look, name an academic in the field who endorses that view. And the view that was being contested was that the application of logic is evidence of white supremacy. That's what he said.
Hold on. Do you expect us to believe that he supplies you one name that you're suddenly going to agree that his point is valid? Or is it more likely, given that you're an uncharitable fucking retard, right, who ruins conversations, that if he gives you one name, you're just going to say, oh, that name's not good enough because of X reason. You're going to vent a reason ad hoc. So why should he engage in a
I mean, look, so no,
who gave this guy mod? Holy shit.
No, so the whole point is, if he provided the evidence, shut the fuck up. If he provided the evidence, there's a good chance I'd agree with it. If he provided it, it would depend, obviously, on who said it, what the source, was, what exactly the citation was. But I would accept it.
Right. So
I've done that in the past when I've had conversations with people.
If he provides a single name, you'll concede the argument, right?
It would depend on the evidence.
Oh yeah, so it's a wild goose chase.
It's not a wild goose chase.
That's exactly what I said. You just ad hoc.
Look, hold on. I can give you the criteria such that I would accept it. Yeah, shut the fuck up, stupid Nazi fuck. I can give you the criteria.
Hold on. Chill. Sam, I know he's frustrating you. Just let's take a step back.
No, this guy's a fucking idiot. That's the problem. The whole thing is, right? I could provide criteria such that I would accept the evidence, right? But it would depend, obviously. I could give you if you want that. I can outline what I would need him to provide. Exactly, but I'm confident that JonJon will not even be able to. Buddy. Okay, I'll give you the outline. It would have to be.
Put it in the side chat.
I'll just tell it to you. It would have to be an academic, a professor who works in that field and provides a definition that's consistent with what he said. That's what the evidence would have to be. And I asked him.
There has to be one academic that agrees with them. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, agrees with the
I could definitely
specific
take that.
claim that the application of logic generally is evident.
logic, right?
Hold on, is evidence of white supremacy.
Yeah,
Not that there.
white logic. Right?
No, he didn't use the phrase white logic. He said logic
So if you're
generally.
just being uncharitable.
No, I'm not being
No,
untrue.
I
That's
think he's-
exactly what he said. That's exactly
it's
what he
not.
said.
No,
That there,
it's
hold on,
not.
that there are thinkers out there who are leveraging intersectionality to suggest that the application of logic generally is a tool of white suppression.
There's no general application of logic. Logic adheres to different traditions, so it's going to depend on context.
Jax, how are you, man?
But that's what he said. I'm aware of
No,
that.
there's like formal logic. So what do you? So if he's saying something that's incoherent, why would you expect him to give
He's
you?
not saying something that's. He's not saying something that's incoherent. To
Well,
say.
do you
To
agree
say.
or
To
disagree?
say.
Why
Hold
would you
on.
expect him to do what?
To say.
What'd you say there? Why would you expect him to do what, Iron?
Aiken, how are you?
Listen, if he's making a claim that's incoherent, if he's referencing something that doesn't exist, like this general logic idea, then obviously he's not going to be able to supply evidence for the claim because it's incoherent.
It's not
But if it's
incoherent.
context
So then,
dependent,
if he
he's
was,
saying
if John
something
John
like
was being
this
charitable
specific
and honest,
history of
right?
logic or this tradition of logic,
Now,
that makes
I
sense.
understand, Iron. I understand, but we're talking. All you're talking about is being charitable and interlocution here. If John was being honest about that,
If you're on
and
your
said, "Oh, I misspoke. I really meant this," or he had
Hey.
and he had ample opportunity to clarify any of those things, and he didn't.
That's what I've
So
been
if you're
trying
saying
to
that
do. though.
John meant
That's
something
unfair.
else, John never offered evidence for that.
I actually been trying to tell him that he's been strawmanning me the entire time. He does not care at all. That's why I've been accusing him.
So clarify,
If you've noticed,
John. What did you
he's
really
over
mean
talking
there?
now.
What
Let me
did you really
get
mean,
a
John?
word in edgewise. You guys are talking about me, right?
John,
So
nobody
I've
wants to listen to you,
told
bitch.
Sammy many times.
This is your opportunity
Listen,
to clarify.
Yeah, John.
That's what we wanna hear.
Why don't you clarify what you
Okay,
actually meant
That's
then?
fair. That's fair. That's fair enough. So, Sammy, I think you're very close. You're not. I don't want to demonize your misrepresentation. I think that it's just a little small mishap, and it shouldn't have been blown out of proportion. But that was your fault, Sammy. But it's something like this. This is heavily influenced by social constructionism, by the way. So under critical race theory and like social constructionism and things like that, like I said before, critical race theory and this social constructionism becomes a lens at which these people view the world through. So when they analyze history, keep in mind what we've been talking about all along about their narrative of power is the only real thing. It's all instead of class oppression, it's just oppressor versus oppressee amongst when they play the identity politics game, they lump everyone up under intersectionality in terms of their group identity and group oppression. So I'm just trying to lay out some of their framework.
So this sounds like a dodge, by the way. Can I tell you why it's a dodge?
I'm getting to the crux right now.
Okay.
There are some things I had to put out there. I had to put out some of their ideology because you're not going to understand most of what's saying if you don't lay that out.
No, I've heard this thousands of times. Actually, I've heard that specific phrasing thousands of times.
Right.
So just get to the point.
With that, Sam. You agree that that's a thing. There are ideologies subscribing to that.
I'm not sure if I agree, but just get to the point.
Wow. Okay. But anyway. So under this lens of viewing the world, yes, indeed, they view things like facts and logic as tools of oppression. Now, I didn't necessarily lump that into white supremacy, but it's in their doctrine later on down the line, so to speak, because when they analyze history, guess who's at the top of the oppressor hierarchy? It's white people, right? And they acknowledge to some degree that it could, because it's almost impossible not to acknowledge this, that white Europeans ushered in the Enlightenment, right? This is why we see such an attack on the Enlightenment, because we're being told that the Enlightenment is a byproduct of
can I ask you a specific question?
One last thing. So this was my claim. This was the claim you got wrong many times, right? The claim that I made is that when these people view history, they view things like debate and facts as meaningless. They don't place a credence in those things. They dismiss those things. Truth is a joke to these people, Sam. It's a kind of irony, right? Like they're just gonna laugh at you if you bring up words.
So can I ask you about the specific claim? When you said, right, that specifically facts and logic, let's just talk about logic for a second. That logic was a tool of white suppression. What's actually being said there? What did you mean
I
by
didn't
that?
say it was a tool. Once again, I did not use that language. I did not use.
Well,
the
no,
term
you
white
said
supremacy.
I said suppression. Did you not say suppression the first time? That's exactly what you said, right?
No,
You said there are
I
people.
didn't.
Well, what was the specific language you used when you said
About
that
what?
about logic? You said that facts and logics are tools of suppression. Is that not what you said?
No. I said oppression.
Okay, oppression, right? And
Oppression.
presumably,
Oppression.
those people were talking about white oppression there, right?
Keep in mind, it's all about oppression. It's all about oppressor oppressees here.
Okay, so presumably they were talking about white oppression there. So what exactly did you mean when you said that there are thinkers out there that view logic as a tool of white oppression?
What I mean by that is that what we see seeping its way into our Democratic Party that's fueling the narrative that America is inherently racist, those are all the people you're looking for. You're asking me, where are these people? Who believes this shit, right? A lot of there's a lot that I could say right here, but I'm going to try to just dummy it down.
No, look, please, no, please don't dodge and don't beat around the bush. Just answer the question, right? Where are these academics, right, specific professors in those fields that say that the application of logic is a tool of white oppression, right? And to clarify, what did you mean when you even said that? Right? That's what I just want clarity on.
Listen, I think it's been explained many times to you. I'm surprised you're not understanding, right? So
I want to hear it. I want to hear it. I want to hear from you, and I want you to answer the question straightforwardly and to not dodge.
Sure, but are you just going to ask the same question you've been the entire time that Iron even told you?
If you answer it, hold on. Is that there were people that were saying that if JonJon was just given the opportunity to support his position, he would. JonJon has been given ample time. Hold on. JonJon has been given ample time to support the position, and he hasn't supported the position that there were prominent thinkers. Hold on.
Correct.
He hasn't supported the position that there were prominent academics who are saying that the application of logic is a tool of white oppression.
You didn't know that, Sam?
Yeah.
How do you not know this stuff?
Other people are posting you links and you don't even care about theirs. I do not care about posting a link.
Well, no. First of all, the links that other people are supporting, the links that other people are
um,
posting we're supporting other things. But I'm actually
Those
concerned
people are
about
trying to
whether
help
or
you
not
out
you
with
can
these
support the position.
Your question.
Look, James, just be quiet for 2 seconds. I'm just concerned about whether or
How
not
do
you
you
can
not know
support
this
it.
stuff,
the
Sam?
entire time.
It's mind-boggling.
Don't you want to hear about these academics saying that white logic is problematic for their field of inquiry? We can read it together.
That's
This is in the link. I'll post it again.
That's a different claim, and the
Yeah,
whole point,
post again.
and the
Maybe
whole,
Sam
hold
doesn't
on.
understand.
That's a different claim than what. Hold on. That's a different claim than what. That's a different. Well, no, that's a different claim than what JonJon was saying initially. And the point.
So you're
The point.
conceding
Hold on.
Place already.
I'm
Let's
not.
read the paper together. We posted it just now.
No. So no. That's. So wait. No. First. No. So just.
Walk him through it.
University of Alabama.
So I just muted this person because he's just rambling. We're not going to read a paper online through people. The whole idea is I've already.
You're not supposed to mute the interlocutors.
The paper.
Why are you muting him for just providing the evidence?
No, we're not gonna listen to him read a whole paper on air. So the whole point is, this is something that I resolved. I was discussing with free speech initially. Free speech said that there are people that say that specific contributions made to the field of logic by white people are influenced by certain political factors like that. And I agreed with that, but that's different than what JonJon was saying initially.
No, Sam, let me clear this.
But the whole thing that's interesting here, even if the support exists, that's not actually interesting. What's interesting is that this is just evidence. This is just evidence that JonJon has no idea what he's talking about.
We get it. You don't like JonJon.
Hold on. No. This is evidence that JonJon doesn't know what he's talking about because he's had ample time to support the claim and hasn't supported it.
So unmute that guy.
Anyone who believes anyone who believes that it's just that JonJon didn't have ample time is an idiot.
We get that guy muted
At this point, no, we're not going to let somebody read through a paper on air.
Let's unmute him.
Yeah, no.
He's giving you what you want.
No, we're not going to do that, and it's not. It's actually not supporting evidence for JonJon's claim.
What are you talking about?
It's not. No, it's not supporting evidence for what JonJon said.
How do you know? You haven't heard it.
Well, because I heard the claim. He said that this.
Sam already admitted he doesn't care about the truth of the proposition. All he cares about suggesting is that JonJon doesn't know what he's talking about.
Seems like he just doesn't like JonJon.
Yeah, no. The whole thing here is just to demonstrate that JonJon consistently has no idea what he's talking about. That's it.
But he does.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Yes,
because he couldn't provide the support, Bacon. It's obvious, right?
How do you know? What? That is
no, because JonJon didn't. I'm saying JonJon didn't provide the support, and even the article that he referenced isn't support for JonJon's claim.
I'm gonna hang myself if he says JonJon again.
JonJon is claiming that logic is prescribed as being racist, and right? Is that not
generally? And specifically, hold on. Specifically, the application of logic. He's not talking about specific contributions. He's not saying that this area or that area is tainted with some kind of political compromise. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that there were academic thinkers that were saying that the application of logic is straightforwardly racist or a tool of white oppression. And that's not the paper. That's not the paper about white logic, quote unquote, that James was citing. Those are two different claims. One is talking about the application of logic. One is talking about contributions to logic by specific groups of people. That's not what JonJon said initially. Very straightforwardly.
Let JonJon clarify. JonJon, what are you saying?
Stop telling people what you think I'm saying. You're making a fool of yourself.
No, the only one embarrassing himself here is you, and it's clear.
That's true.
It's transparent, right?
Listen,
the only thing,
everyone else is on my side.
No one here believes that you know what you're talking about. Let's just get that right off the bat. No one here is confused about that. At this point, everyone in the room.
Steven, stop doing that.
Yeah, stop messing with him. At this point, Everyone is convinced.
Overriding your mods in this discussion. You are a tyrant.
Nope.
You're going right off the rails.
Yeah, I'm a
You've
tyrant.
muted 3 people in the dialogue.
Nothing hinges on it. Let's all just agree. JonJon doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Okay, cool. We all agree. Now, can we move on to talking about the actual subject of whether or not logic is racist?
You know,
Go ahead.
I have no dog in this race, but Sammy definitely seems to have something in for JonJon.
Yeah,
Just
Sammy
saying.
is a fucking retard, right? I don't know if it's black or if it's just a coincidence, but he's fucking retarded piece of shit.
The only retard here.
Move on to the actual conversation.
Yeah, I get it, man. You're a fucking moron, Iron. I get it, dude. I understand that completely. Shut the fuck up.
Let's go ahead and hear from James. James,
This is so.
can we hear from James?
This is absolutely hilarious.
Yes,
to
let's hear
listen
from
to.
James.
Sorry.
James
Sammy,
deserves a
Go
voice.
ahead, James.
So biased
He was
here.
silenced.
Okie dokie, thank you everyone. So it was asked for a paper from an academic that was in support of the thing that JonJon was saying that they support. The paper's titled "Rejecting White Distraction: A Critique of the White Logic and White Methods in Academic Publishing," and it gives the departments that they're at the beginning, and so kind of it says at the top. This critical reply engages in a critique of the prominence of white logic and white methods in academic publishing. We assess how the construction and proliferation of white knowledge shapes analysis and interpretation, argumentation, peer review, and ultimately publication. And we call for rejection of what we name white distraction and encourage the academic community to move towards more inclusive and decolonial modes of thinking, reviewing, and publishing. And so the really key phrase here is if you scroll down to page where is it? I think it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so towards the some of page 3 or 4, it says a second. Yes, I'll just start from the nearest break. The real question, how does it feel to be a problematic social movement? We follow Du Bois and answer not a word. The very invitation itself stems from the dominant white logic, in inverted commas, grants centrality to the knowledge, history, science, and culture of elite white men. And that's citing Zuberi and Bonilla Silva, 2008. So this falls in line with the postmodern article, the article on the entry for postmodernism that I posted from Encyclopedia Britannica.
So it's not.
It posits that logic itself, because a propositional logic was thought of by European Greek thinkers and formalized by Europeans, that this is merely a social construct and not objective truth or an unbiased or objective way of analyzing truth claims. Posits that this is just a social construct, and that this is simply, some white artifact of white.
Yes, I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah, so no, can I describe the difference between your claim and what JonJon said?
And you just mentioned that those academics attributed some of it to social constructionism.
Yeah, so the whole point is, JonJon wasn't talking specifically about given contributions by white people to the field of logic. In fact, the phrasing he used initially was the application of logic. He was talking about that generally, full stop. And what was interesting, hold on. And what was interesting to me, James, I'm not saying that the information didn't exist. The whole point there was just to demonstrate that JonJon was going to be unable to cite it, and JonJon didn't know anything
for the last time
discussing.
For the last
so that's why I asked him for evidence. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he could cite the exact fucking paper.
He's just trying to score a point.
It matters. Hold on. It matters. Wait, Damon.
You're completely trying to gaslight him here.
Damon. You don't know. You don't. No, I wasn't done talking. So you. Well, let me finish before you cut me off. Right. So the whole point is, right? We were asking JonJon to cite the evidence and JonJon to support the claim. And he wasn't doing that. And even this is not support for what JonJon claimed initially. He said that he was talking about the application of logic generally. He wasn't talking about specific contributions.
True.
No, that paper. No, it's not. You didn't even. No. Because listen, dude, you joined the conversation late, and I hashed this out with Fruit Peach already.
It doesn't really matter.
In regards to talking about specific contributions to the field of logic, some people could say that fine, X or Y was politically motivated, but JonJon was talking about the application of logic generally. He wasn't talking about specific contributions.
No, I wasn't. That's what this thought of argument is.
That's not what
it's the fact that white science exists.
That's not what the article says. That's not what the article says. At least not as James just described it. And the whole point to hammer this home initially. Look, James. Let's just.
Your memory is failing.
James. Well, hold on. No, I don't think my memory is failing me. Let me finish what I'm saying.
You forgot where.
No. So you can finish as soon as I'm. You can finish as soon as I'm done talking, bro. And the whole point is, remember, when I said this initially, I wasn't suggesting that the evidence didn't exist, but merely that JonJon was unaware of it, had no idea how to support that position. And the whole point of me asking that is to demonstrate that JonJon had no clue what he was talking about. So don't argue with me about whether or not white logic exists. That wasn't the point of contention. The whole point of contention is that JonJon is unable to supply that. And whether or not the evidence and whether or not the evidence exists is immaterial to that claim of whether he knows it. It's just completely separate discussion.
Listen, you have to have seen the evidence or heard the evidence or read the evidence to be able to make the claim in the first place. So regardless of whether JonJon is able to say, hey, this article by so-and-so has all of this subject matter that supports my claim, doesn't really matter if he's just saying that the argument is out there. The fact that science is white, that white science needs to be deconstructed, that the video that James actually provided in the chat actually states that white science needs to be deconstructed. That is
so the issue.
Yeah, I appreciate colonialism science, and that's the point. It's the idea that JonJon is unable to cite a specific paper is completely irrelevant because he knows that the argument exists. The argument does exist, and that's all he's saying.
No, but he said he could. Hold on. I asked. Hold on. I asked you.
I'm asking JonJon.
Well, hold on. No. You were responding to me, so I'll just tell you. I asked him directly. Can you support the claim? And he said yes, he could.
I've been having to let Sammy talk about me because if I talk directly to him or stick up for myself, he'll just mute me, like he's done to a couple other people in the dialogue already.
Well, that's an unfortunate tactic, Sammy.
Yeah, I mean, look how bad it is when I'm letting. Listen, I'm in a position where. You can only imagine how much I would like to clarify what's going on, but I'm in a position to where I can't. I just might as well let other people stick up for me. That's how bad these people are. But we're dealing with bad faith interlocutors.
No, you were offered ample time to clarify what you were saying. Other people stepped in to steelman your position with information that you didn't know. The fact is, man, you couldn't support it, right? That's all it is.
Because you're not understanding the position that he's in.
Listen, when I talk about a bad faith interlocutor, what I mean by that is someone who doesn't care about the truth of the matter. They care more or less about scoring points. We see this all the time online, these bad faith interlocutors. So unfortunately, yes, a lot of people have picked up on there's a lot of truth to what's being said here, but Sammy about that stuff, he just cares about scoring points, looking good to his little butt buddies, and muting people in the meantime.
No. Don't.
Me, are you going to update your beliefs as a result of the evidence presented to you?
I don't. I'll read over the paper, but I actually don't have a position on the whole white logic stuff. The whole
really? That's different from what you said before, because I remember you specifically saying that when you heard JonJon say that claim about white logic being white or logic being white logic being oppressive, something along those lines. I remember you saying that sounds bonkers or balls.
I said it sound. I said hold on. I said it sound.
Disbelief about the proposition.
Well, can I tell you exactly what I said? I said that it sounds absurd. It doesn't mean I have a position. It doesn't mean I have a position. It just sounds strange. And what's funny is what you're talking about is distinct than what JonJon said initially. But the whole point is, I don't really even have a position on whether or not it exists, whether there is an academic that supports it or rejects it. The whole point I wanted to
You've just
hammer
been caught
home
out. Now you're
is
changing
that-
your position.
I'm not changing my position. Dude, look, I'm not changing my position. I said, when I heard that,
People with
it's...
memory longer than maybe 20 minutes will know that you
No,
are changing your
no,
position.
I'm not changing my position.
This is par for the course with Sammy. He does that all the
I
time.
said it sounds absurd. I didn't say I believe
Oh,
it. or I
okay,
don't.
that's not an expression of belief, is it? It sounds absurd.
Yeah, so I did. I wasn't. I
saying
wasn't.
that
Hold on. Yeah, I wasn't saying I believed or I didn't, and possibly there is evidence, right? But it just sounds odd. That's why I asked for supporting evidence. And the whole point is, JonJon couldn't provide it.
to you, so should be some epiphany on your part.
Look.
You can uproot your beliefs.
I'll read over the paper and I'll see. But
Don't
at
just
first
read over the paper,
glance, it doesn't support what JonJon said initially.
Sammy,
And maybe,
don't even
maybe
just read over the paper. James put in a video link you need to watch.
I'll read the paper. It's not that long. It's like 10
and maybe the encyclopedia entry on postmodernism, which said the same thing.
Sure, but that wasn't JonJon's claim initially. That's the whole
I'm
point.
actually impressed by how much everyone knows about this shit. It's really cool. Like that guy just told you to look up postmodernism. Jesus Christ, you don't like. Usually there's just dog shit interlocutors in here, but I'm a little impressed.
Yeah, of course. The only person in here that's a dog shit interlocutor is you, man. And the only reason these people are defending you is because they're new on this platform. They haven't heard you ramble about shit you know nothing about for hours.
They're brainwashed.
That's the only issue
Okay,
here.
but on this
they are
issue,
brainwashed.
he was correct, though.
They're under my curse.
Look, James, I don't know why you're struggling to understand this, man. My contention wasn't that whether what he said was right or wrong. My contention was that he didn't have the evidence to support it initially. And JonJon frequently does this, man. He'll join the server, ramble about shit he knows nothing about, and never support his claims. So whether or not by happenstance he was right is immaterial to what I'm saying. Why do you keep bringing that up?
Immaterial. Before, you seem to say, oh, well, I know enough to know that what he's saying is bullshit. That's another statement.
No. So I know. I'll tell you why I said that. I know enough about JonJon. I know enough about JonJon, and I know enough about his behavior to know that what he was saying was bullshit. Because he frequently just gets in here to ramp. Go ahead, man.
All right, Sammy, is this a formal debate between you and JonJon?
Oh, we don't have formal debates.
No, just asking. It's not a formal debate between you and JonJon, right?
For sure, yeah.
So what we are doing at this point is discussing ideas, correct?
To some extent,
that's what the
sure.
Discord does? Yeah,
well,
okay. So
I mean, part of it, yeah.
Okay, well, it's a part of it. Yeah, I get it. It's godless debates. But generally speaking, when you're in a room like this where you've got 30 fucking people that are all talking or listening, you are just discussing ideas. You're not having a formal debate. So the problem is, he does not have to have sources and citations in order to back up the idea. It is a discussion.
I told him I wasn't. I told him I was not going to provide plenty of time.
That's been more of a traditional part of
I was just about to
in
say,
this community.
we have kind of a social contract here. It's not so you're not going to find it in the rules, but generally on this platform we have the expectation that if you're going to cite something, you're going to provide evidence for it, and the burden is on you to cite it. So that's a social contract that we have on here. It's an expectation we have of everyone.
Yes. But pointing towards what it is just as good as anything, considering the fact that you are near a computer or at least a phone that you can use Google to say, hey, is this right?
I understand. I understand what you're saying, Zach, but the reason why I'm rejecting that is because we have a convention established on here, and that's an expectation that everyone has, right?
What?
Maybe you haven't been on here. Maybe you haven't been on here for long enough, but generally, when people make a claim,
I've been on here for like 8 hours.
So that's not long enough, man. Most of us have been on here for 3+ years, right?
That's
so
fine. I understand that. There's
a
completely understandable. But
okay,
it still is like, I mean, with the idea that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about just because he can't cite a source is just untrue. He can know what he's talking about without having a source.
Well, Zach, actually, I think we can have an interesting conversation about this. Look, all of us on here have known JonJon for like 3+ years or something. some of us even more than that, right? Do you think that my position, that he doesn't know what he's talking about and he's just talking out of his ass, is informed exclusively by him not being able to provide evidence once? Or do you think this is a pattern of behavior that everyone notices, that everyone's aware of?
You're so oblivious to what's
not
being told of you,
necessarily.
Sam.
No. What do you think informs my view? I'm asking you to guess.
No.
What do you think informs my view?
I would accept the idea that this is a pattern of behavior. Absolutely. Because I'm brand new to this fucking Discord and I don't know anybody, none of you from a hole in the wall. Okay, but that's still the idea that this is a constant pattern of behavior. Just means that he does not adhere to your social contract. That does not necessarily mean he doesn't know what he's talking about just because he doesn't cite sources.
Oh my. Okay. Well, let me ask you something. Right? Do you know what somebody?
I told him I wasn't going to cite sources.
So
too.
wait, no, because I think this is actually going to be a more interesting conversation. Zach, do you know what it means? Do you know what it means when someone says something is the inference to the best explanation?
Hell.
I don't have an issue if you don't. Like I can explain.
No, honestly, I don't necessarily know what that language is referring to.
Okay. Just the simple form is just that it's the explanation that has the highest probability of being the case, and also basically best supports the hypothesis. Right? It's the most consistent. So let's say there's somebody on here who frequently makes claims. Right? He'll say things like, for example, the GDP growth last quarter was 5.7%. Oh, really? Why is that the case? Can you cite it? He can't. He says, I'm 7 feet tall. Why is that the case? Can you cite it? He can't, right? Somebody who frequently does not provide support for the claims that he makes, right? And actually continues to do that until he's asked for support. Do you think I'm wrong for assuming that he can't support his claims? It's not just a decision. Because look, if you were trying to make an argument or persuade people, you would be inclined to provide evidence to support it, right? So that people fucking believe you.
Oh my god!
Do you think it's wrong of me to assume?
It served you very well.
Why is this happening to the server? Please.
No, I'm just asking you. Well, hold on. I'm talking to Zach. Does that make sense to you? Like, if you were in my position, what would you think?
Sense. But
okay,
there's a difference, a distinct difference that I see within this. Okay, is again, it's more on the purpose of the forum. Like I'm pretty sure. Again, not knowing anybody from a hole in the wall here, but I'm pretty sure that JonJon's purpose is not to convince you that he's right, but to discuss the ideology is out there. Am I correct in that, JonJon?
Absolutely. Just to be clear, to add on to that, the moment I realize I'm dealing with a bad faith interlocutor, I'm only appealing to the crowd. And notice how the crowd, I won over the crowd, clearly. There was people white knighting me the entire time, like 4 people. There was like
honestly,
one
though, I'm not
really abusive moderator who was trying to white knight for Sam E, but that was it.
JonJon, I honestly, to be fair, I'm not interested in any of the bad faith interlocutors at all. Like that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, in my opinion, listen, just really quick. What should happen is we should completely drop this. He's a drama queen. He just wants to keep shitting on me in his eyes. That's what he's doing. He just wants to shit on me, score points. This is so boring.
No, so
this is ridiculous. Let's just talk about the issues we were talking about. So what?
So I think we've discussed this enough. I actually agree with moving off this topic. But I just want Zach to understand why I have that position, why Zach has that position, why many people think that way. It's not just a one-off instance with this person.
Oh, I understand why you might have that position. I don't necessarily agree with the position, though, just because I don't believe that that's really the purpose of these kind of discussions is to try to prove that you're right.
Okay, well.
What?
Well, you'll be.
John calls everyone stupid when he talks about this all the time.
Look.
Everyone doesn't know anything about it. You all supported him slightly, and then he said, "Oh wow, look at how great the crowd is."
But he doesn't want to get into any.
You haven't been here long enough. The 8th time you listen to the same conversation from JonJon, you might have a different opinion.
Yeah, actually, what's funny is Zach, is when you said that initially, I had the impulse to be like a complete fucking asshole to you. But I didn't want to do that because I feel like we're going to be friends later on. I think we're going to get along. And I did the same thing when I first joined the server. When I joined the server, one of the first things I did was defend JonJon. Actually, right? Yes, because I thought people were treating him like shit and being an asshole to him. But then I learned. So I think you'll get it the more you listen to JonJon.
You're hearing this guy say, and then I learned. But understand, the guy who just said, and then I learned, is a guy who has been accused of mod abuse countless times. He's actually displayed that behavior in this very dialogue. He's muted Iron, he's muted me, he muted somebody else. He literally had moderators overriding his moderation decisions. The only reason why he's allowed to get away with this is because he's kind of a programmer and he helps run the server. If it wasn't for that, no one would put up with that type of behavior, that type of tyrant behavior. And yes, he has his fellow butt toucher mods who, and make no mistake, you guys have daily mod abuse trials trying to figure out why there's so much mistreatment going on around here, right? It's just pathetic. And
John, don't forget that
we should
John.
completely dismiss this entire half hour of Sammy telling me he's not convinced, right? Just dismiss that altogether, and we can talk. Like, I'd like to hear some opinions, not from Sammy, of course, but some opinions
John, you
from other
forget
people on what we were talking about, right? Let's go to there. That's what we should do right now. Start chiming in on what you guys think about what was talked about. Don't talk about fucking Sammy not being convinced of what's being said here. That's just dumb. These guys are terrible people. They get off to this shit, right? They get off to, scoring points on Discord.
Yeah, listen, dude.
This is what I'm trying to tell him. This is what I'm about to try to tell him.
I get it, JonJon. Your pussy's bleeding. But you know what? Let's move on. Right? I think we're done. We're done confirming what kind of an idiot you are.
That's not just me saying that. You've ruined every discussion you've been in the last couple hours.
Yeah, dude. I understand that you're upset and your pussy's bleeding.
I'm done with that shit, man.
I understand it, man.
I'm gonna take your word at face value when you say you know about intersectionality.
Let's just move on to the next discussion.
That topic.
Let's move on, dude. I understand your pussy's bleeding. Let's go.
Like you always try to do. You guys are sick with power. It's absurd.
Oh my god, dude! Cry me a fucking river.
Whether or not they can talk in here, like you have.
Cry me a fucking river, JonJon. Honestly,
sick in the head, dude. Listen to the way you address people in here, like they're just pawns. Like you,
JonJon. Now,
oh
hold on, JonJon. You have got to acknowledge some personal responsibility in that regard. Do not claim an ivory tower position in that regard, because you can't. Half of your dialogues consist of, I'm going to make this clear because most of you in here are too stupid to understand this. I'm going to try and break this down simply because when it comes to these concepts, I'm the only one in the room can understand it. No, it's really not.
Yes, I understand where you're coming from, but the reason that is unfair is because you're just appealing to the fact that for example, there are plenty of people I talk to who I am super respectful to. But I've been a member of this community for a long time. So I've realized that a lot of these people, like Sammy, like he's gonna do the same thing. Like tomorrow he'll say the same thing about when someone tries to speak truth to this issue, he's gonna try to dismiss it all, say everyone's stupid, he's not convinced, but he'll never learn anything about these topics. He's not interested in that. Right? He's
you make sweeping generalizations nearly every time you talk about these topics, JonJon. To the room.
So
you make sweeping generalizations.
Words, you're basically saying that I should treat bad faith interlocutors the same as I treat good faith interlocutors.
So I thought we were moving on from this, JonJon. I thought you were annoyed with this discussion, bro.
Bad faith interlocutors accordingly. Come on, man.
Yeah, so I thought we were moving on from this discussion, JonJon. I thought you were upset about it.
No, listen. We're going to hear what other people have to think about the discussion because you ruined it, Sammy, with this nonsense.
Yeah. Of course I did. Dude, honestly. Dude, shut the fuck up, honestly.
So hold on.
Do they have your permission, Sammy? Do they have your permission to speak?
Oh my god. Cry me a fucking river. Cry me a fucking river, dude.
You're the one crying.
Dude, honestly, your pussy's been bleeding for the past hour now. Get over it, man. I get it. You're upset. You're upset because you're a fucking moron. I understand.
Yo,
you're the one that suggested we should move on, dude. Are you interested in moving on, or do you want me to continue to berate you like the fucking moron you are? I understand that your parents are cousins and you spent your childhood fucking your stepsister.
Says the Muslim.
I understand you're
retarded.
There's a lot of
irony.
I'm really confused.
A Muslim just accused me.
Do you want to move on from this discussion, or do you want me to continue to berate you for hours?
Wait, stop. 1 second.
There's no getting in between these two.
Lead. Just sit back, Lead. Just sit back.
No, I want to know what's going on. How did this all start?
I just got accused of being in love with my cousin by a Muslim.
Just sit back and wait. Just sit back and wait, Lead.
No, but let's just move. But I do support the idea that we should get off this
what's
topic.
happening is Sammy is freaking out. Sammy's not allowing anyone else to comment on the topic we just had because he ruined
I
that
just
topic.
said you
Made
can.
an ass of himself, right?
I just said you can if you want to
Right,
move
so
on.
that other guy, James. Where's James at? Where's that other guy, Jack or whatever? Let's hear what you guys have to think. Finally, Jesus Christ.
I just like to know whether Sammy has learned anything from this discussion about postmodernism, or whether his prior beliefs are the exact same as they were before, despite having been shown evidence of postmodernism.
I've glanced over the paper. I mean, if that's the answer you want. Like, if you're saying
it seems like you're getting off a little bit too easy there, because you said that, for example, that you knew enough about this to know that JonJon was talking bullshit. You also said that what JonJon said sounded absurd to you. Those are both statements of your belief.
Can I clarify?
So now you've been shown evidence in course of that.
No, so that's
you haven't
not.
finished making the point.
Well, no, because I already have a point of I already have a point of disagreement.
You're making the point, though.
No, but you misrepresented what I said.
Given that you've made those expressions of your belief on the subject, you've been shown that your beliefs in terms of kind of this idea that kind of a logic is a white construction, a white social construct that's somehow reflective of the kind of oppressive white culture and so on and so forth, the white patriarchy, the white colonialist kind of project, that you've been shown that these are kind of well-founded beliefs within postmodernism. Surely you should update your positions, and now you shouldn't find it. You should no longer find it.
So the reason why I wanted to stop you is because you misrepresented what I said. So I said I know enough about this to know that JonJon is most likely talking out of his ass. What I was referring to there is, well, he was, because he couldn't provide the support. No, just let me finish, dude. Stop talking for 2 seconds. Jesus, man. So the point was,
how long have you been talking for, Sam?
Up until now, 10 seconds until you cut me off, dude. So let me finish. What I was referring to is background knowledge I have about JonJon and him supporting his positions. I already told you about this whole idea about logic, about white logic or whatever. I don't have a stance on that. I'll read through your paper. So when you said initially you had a position in support of it or against it, I'm telling you I didn't. What I had a position on is how likely it was that JonJon was versed in that topic.
That sounds like
yes. Well, I can wreck I can wreck that claim, Sammy. I can prove in a hold on really quick. I can prove in a heartbeat that I know 10 times more about postmodernism and all these issues than Sammy does.
I'm not talking about. Hold on. I'm not talking about.
And that's all he's claiming now.
I'm not
He's trying to say, well, based off my knowledge, I know JonJon knows fuck all about what he's talking about.
Not talking,
even though I don't know anything about it.
I'm not talking generally about postmodernism. I'm talking about the specific claim that you made. Right. So that's the confusion between us here.
Yes.
James. I don't. To be honest, dude. To be honest,
postmodernism.
To be frank with you,
fucking
James,
moron.
I don't have a specific position on white logic or whether or not this is a common view about academics. I don't really care. I'll read through the paper.
About truth. I've said that many times.
That's what I think is good charity generally. But I never said I support it or I didn't. I just heard a claim that to me struck me as strange. I'm like, okay, I don't.
And to carry that forward, JonJon, I've typed just about every permutation I can of the words pertaining to the original claim. You know, logic and reason as white oppression, logic as tools of oppression, logic pointing to it. I've tried all these permutations, and the only articles I've been able to come up with are the same ones that a couple other people posted about science being a tool of oppression, which is weird, and the students. But I haven't been able to find any academic leader, thought leaders. I haven't been able to find any thought leaders so far.
Andricus, but don't you think that if the students are saying that, that's going to be a reflection of what they're being taught in class?
Andricus says
not necessarily. Could be,
as a good interlocutor. So let's address what Andricus is saying, right? You want to ask that again for everyone to get on board, Andricus, so we can just.
Well, I've just been looking. I've been looking for, like you say, that there's thought leaders in that space, and I've been trying to find them. And if you could just give me one as a starting point, I could do more research about this because I don't necessarily disagree that ideas like this are